Top of the morning, back in action on a Monday. Just getting ready to trade the New York Open here. I added another little chart to the side here last night when I was doing a little bit of overnight trading, which did not go very well, as you can see. I've got a NINZA RENKO 55-21 chart. So a NINZA RENKO chart type, brick size of 55, trend threshold of 21. Just have a couple days loaded there. These are some Fibonacci numbers. This is an NQ chart. All I did is I took the 1 minute chart, I right clicked, I duplicated it into a new window. I got rid of the delta grid from the flow stack, but I left the delta numbers above the candles showing. I got rid of the secondary time series. Using the flow stack, if I'm using it on a RENKO or a different kind of chart, I really only like to use the original main chart data. I don't like to mix and match. You can mix and match data series and time series. If you're just looking at the grid up in the right hand corner, everything will be in alignment no matter how many weird combinations you have. But as far as the delta numbers above the candles, if you're mixing and matching crazy time frames, I would probably turn these off. There can only be one number displayed per bar. So if you have 3 or 4 other bars firing off from a different time frame on this one main chart bar, you're only going to see one of those delta numbers, so can't imagine it being very helpful. But that's what the delta grid is for mixing and matching time frames. When I've got all the same time frame, like on this 1 minute chart, I definitely like adding some extra data series, doing some comparisons. So I've also got the fluxometer imbalance percentages on the RENKO chart over here, and I've got the polarity. I took all of the divergence signals off of this chart. Divergence on a RENKO can work great in the off hours when things aren't moving very fast, but when there's volatility, there can be way too many divergent signals. I don't really find them as helpful in the RENKO charts. Then I got the background being painted by the trend and reversal with the cumulative delta as an input. Got the ultimate delta histogram down here. I did just take a short this morning. We had a polarity imbalance signal to the downside up here on the RENKO. Had about 200 in negative delta coming in, and the cumulative delta background had turned red when we were up here near 40. So I grabbed a short, clawed back a little bit of the losses from last night. So on the flow stack RENKO chart, I changed a couple things. I turned the delta grid off. I'm not using any additional instruments or time frames. And for the signal conditions, I've got the use delta percentage threshold activated. I've got the volume increase activated and the Heiken Ashi. And then for my delta percentage threshold, I've got a number 4. So those are the differences on the RENKO chart versus my 1 minute chart that I copied. Everything else is the same with the master flow chart template setup. Got my 1 minute chart, my 5 minute chart that I'm trading the micros off of, and my higher time frame 60 minute chart. So far yesterday's point of control has been holding up nicely. Keep bouncing off of yesterday's point of control. We had a gap down overnight, filled the gap in the overnight session. Just wait until 9:30. Hopefully gonna find some good trades today. Just grabbed a short right out of the gate. Got my 10 points filled instantly. We had some crazy triple, quadruple signal up here on the 1 minute. Washout signal, imbalance signal, divergence. Everything was turning red. The RENKOs already took off. Just made it down to this cluster at key level, getting a nice bounce up off of London Open. We had this imbalance signal to the upside that appeared right when we were down here on the RENKOs. Had a lot of delta coming into the downside. Now we got even more delta coming into the upside on the 1 minute. We got an imbalance signal to the downside here on the RENKOs. Some negative imbalance percentage. Decent amount of delta coming in. Look at the ultimate delta histogram on this RENKO bar right here. Cumulative delta went bearish. Just got my 10 points there. We popped right back to pre-market high in the center of the opening range here. Just bounced right back up. I just grabbed a short up here. We had some negative percentages creeping in on the RENKOs, and look at the delta. As we're coming up, delta's just dropping right off. Also had some divergence on the 1 minute, and we had this big double cluster of key levels, the R1 pivot and yesterday's high coming up. So grabbed a little short there, got my full 10 points. It was also a very big area on the Greek profile. This is in delta profile mode, right at 823.75 there. We had a huge level on the delta profile. Just dropped off 45 points off of that level. The RENKO chart's doing its thing over here. Had point of control up into this wick back here, imbalance signal to the downside. Got a nice little pop lower. I definitely do not recommend heavy setups like this on a smaller RENKO time frame on the NQ. Can't say I really recommend RENKO charts in general, but I like playing around with them sometimes, and I get a lot of questions about the RENKO charts. So I thought I'd throw one up today so you can see it in action. Had an imbalanced signal to the upside here. Some big bottom wicks on the delta on these two candles. Getting a little pop up here. So based on this delta coming in on the RENKO chart, look at this big old delta histogram bar. Had an imbalanced signal to the downside there. Had an imbalanced signal to the downside on the 1 minute chart back here as well. And then as we had been coming up, the imbalance percentages on the 5 minute were staying bearish on these previous candles. Big top wick on the previous 5 minute delta, coming up to this double cluster of key levels. So based on all of those factors, I went in for a short and got another 10 points. Definitely recovered from the overnight session, up pretty good in the accounts now. Grabbed another little short based on this last 5 minute candle, point of control up into the wick, another negative imbalance percentage. I grabbed like 5 or 6 points there, but we were coming up to whole number. Definitely wanted to get out before we got to whole number. Seems like for the moment the whole number area is holding. Just looking back on the higher time frame chart, we've got a bunch of key levels up here around 880 to 900, then a bunch more around 940 to 950. Then we got our R2 pivot and a previous point of control up around 26,000. So if we keep pushing up, I'll be keeping a lookout for those levels. Check out this last 5 minute candle, 100% imbalances to the upside. So even though we had this top wick, 100% imbalances to the upside. After the close, we've popped up over 20 points. I just grabbed another short. We had a polarity washout signal up here. We had point of control up into the wick. Delta's dropping off. We were right at the 50 level. I went for my short. We just pulled back to R1. We're getting a little hold up here. The negative delta has really been building on this last RENKO bar here. This was a pretty bullish close on this last 1 hour candle here. Just turned 10 o'clock. We're pulling back to the 20 SMA now. Getting a little bounce at the 20 SMA. So this current RENKO bar still has not completed, building up a ton of negative delta. So if we break below this red line here, probably a good shorting opportunity. But if all this negative delta gets eaten up, we break above this green line, probably a nice long opportunity there. The red and green dotted lines, this is the free NINZA bar status indicator. There's links in the description. On a RENKO chart, it shows the levels at which the next bar will be completed, and on time-based charts, you get the countdown timer. For the past 5 or 6 minutes, we've just been going nowhere, still stuck inside this RENKO bar, waiting for this RENKO bar to close, break out of this range. Bunch of imbalance signals to the downside building up. All right, this RENKO bar finally formed. It's got a lot of negative delta. It's got an imbalance signal to the downside. Just got to close below the 20 SMA. Just looking at this 1 hour candle, the 1 hour candle was very bullish. I'm not really excited to hop into a short or a long at this point. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a sell-off. Had another imbalance signal to the downside come in on this candle. Some decent negative delta. The double Heiken Ashi went bearish back here right before we broke below the 20. See delta's steadily declining. I don't really want to get short. I go short, there's not much room down to whole number. Don't like the idea of a long quite yet. Maybe closer to 1030 if we stay above the 250 SMA. Usually only like to trade for 1 hour, 9:30 to 10:30. Just grabbed a little short here. We had some divergence building up. We had some decent negative delta coming in on this RENKO. I just grabbed like 4 or 5 points there. If anything, I'm looking for it to push up a little bit higher sometime between now and 10:30. But we got about 7 minutes left until 10:30. Thought I could catch a little bit of a pullback. We had delta dropping off on the 1 minute as well. Well, we are getting a little bit more of a pullback here. A lot more delta came in on this RENKO. Imbalance signal to the downside. 96% negative imbalances. Some decent delta coming in on the NQ here and the ES. 88% negative imbalances on this candle. Already had the cumulative delta background going bearish. Getting a nice little pullback back to the 20 SMA here. Delta was dropping off on the 5 minute as price was going up. Got about 3 minutes till 10:30. See if I can find one more trade to take. If not, just gonna be done for the day. So we got the pop up after 10:30. R1 pivot held. Been getting a nice little pop up here. As we were coming down on the RENKOs, we had an imbalance signal to the upside up here. Now we've just popped up over 30 points. I was waiting for a deeper pullback if I was going to get in long around 10:30, so I did not take the bounce trade to the upside. I'm just going to call it a day there, up over 50 points in most of the accounts. I gotta say, I do love being able to take my time on these Lucid accounts, not having to worry about any kind of monthly subscription fee. And then the Apex funded accounts, I have the lifetime fee on, so I can just trade how I like, no stress. On the Lucid accounts, for the account type that I have, you do have to have at least 5 days of $100 or more. I often have days of 100 or better, so for me that's nothing to worry about. Anyone that's out there using code MonkeyMan at Lucid or Apex or Take Profit Trader, Tradeify, and TradeDay, you are the absolute best. Thanks so much for your support. There are links to the MMT indicators in the description. I wish you best of luck in your trading. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.